It is January 5th, and it is 1 o'clock here on the East Coast, which means it is time for Basic Training Working Group. First and foremost, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody on the call. Hope you guys had a great holiday with your families, got to take some time off. I know I did. It was very much needed on my end. But today is Basic Training Day. It's our first basic training of the new year, and we are going to be focusing specifically on the maintenance portal. This is a piece of the admin panel that I don't think gets used a lot by many of our agencies, and I think it's just because they don't have really a good understanding of what the maintenance portal consists of. So the maintenance portal, why is it important? We're going to cover a couple things today. We're going to look at a complete overview of the portal itself. We're going to talk through the difference in procedures and schedules. We'll show you guys how to set everything up with those two, and then we'll just open things up for Q&A. But just a kind of a brief overview of the maintenance portal. This is completely customizable to your agency SOPs, SOGs. So whatever your agency, whatever your team has come up with for maintenance, you're going to be able to pretty much apply that through our system. One thing I do want to hit on is we are not going to provide any kind of recommended maintenance practices simply because it's a liability. Towards the end of the working group today, I will give a file that is the maintenance handbook for the DJI Matrice series aircraft, everything from the 200 up to the 300. But you'll find that, not a lot of the manufacturers have provided many maintenance guidelines. And again, it just comes down to liability. But when it comes to these maintenance procedures and schedules, there's no limit to how many of these you can create. So if your agency wants to do weekly or bi-weekly or monthly or quarterly or annually or biannually, or maybe you want to take a different approach and you want to do it every 5 flights or every 10 flights or every 5 flight hours, you have a lot of options in how you can customize this. One of the newest pieces we've rolled out is there's now some in-app notifications based on the hardware you're connected to for overdue maintenance. And then there's also that fully customizable admin email roll-up that you can set up to include information on maintenance as well if you're getting those notifications. The big thing about maintenance as well, it can also be set up to cover all types of hardware. We're not just talking about the airframe. We're talking about batteries. We're talking about sensors. We're talking about the device being used to run our mobile application. And I know many of you are like, well, what's going to be maintenance on a cell phone or on a smart controller? And for me, that's things like checking my firmware, checking my app version, checking my operating system on my device. Is it up to date? So just some things to remember that I think don't get thought about often enough. But it can also include your sensors. So all your various payloads, maybe we need camera or lens calibrations. Maybe we need to recalibrate the gimbals. Maybe we need to FFC our thermal sensor. Whatever the case may be, maintenance can be set up to completely cover all the hardware that we're tracking. And again, because we're automatically tracking a lot of this hardware based on serial numbers, you will get those in-app notifications for overdue maintenance as well, depending on the hardware you're connected to. So when we talk about maintenance, there's kind of 2 pieces to this puzzle, if you will. The first one is procedures. So procedures are essentially the user-defined steps and actions you're going to take on this aircraft. Things like checking the airframe for cracks, checking our prop for cracks, making sure all of our fittings are tight, things like that. This can be hardware specific. So you can create this for a specific manufacturer. You can create this for a specific individual aircraft, or you can make this more generalized and, airframe agnostic. Again, it's completely up to you guys on how custom you make this and how deep in the weeds you get with maintenance. Another thing that I think is really cool about the procedures section is it'll allow you to upload documents, photos, and videos that could potentially be used as guides. So maybe you're bringing up some new rookies into the drone program, or maybe you're getting some guys involved that don't know the first thing about drones. You can attach documents, photos, and videos to these maintenance procedures to kind of act as a guide to assist your personnel that are running these maintenance procedures. These two things do go hand in hand. However, you can set up maintenance procedures without adding them to a schedule. And so that kind of leads us into maintenance schedules. So maintenance schedules, obviously, like the name implies, this is the time frame or the schedule in which you're running this maintenance. Understand that these maintenance schedules do require procedures. You have to have some maintenance procedures created in order to create a maintenance schedule. And as I mentioned in the overview, this can be custom timing based on flight hours, based on flight count, based on battery cycles, or just very simply based on the calendar day. So again, that bi-monthly, bi-weekly, annually, quarterly, whatever the case may be. And schedules can be applied seamlessly to multiple pieces of hardware. And that really, once we get over into the platform itself, I think you'll have a better understanding. The last piece I want to hit on, which we'll see again once we switch over to the web console, is ad hoc maintenance. So this is non-procedured, non-scheduled maintenance that you have the option to run simply, again, ad hoc. A lot of the use cases I found, this could be after an incident, or maybe after an aircraft has been returned from the manufacturer from some kind of service center, or maybe this is an initial in-service for a new aircraft, can be done ad hoc. Before we jump over to the platform, I'll throw up the QR code that'll give you access to our support site as well as our support phone number. If you have any questions, comments about what we've covered so far, feel free to reach out to me, joshua@dronesense.com or hope@dronesense.com. You can also reach alex.armstrong@dronesense.com as well as coit.kessler@dronesense.com, the two newest members of our CS team there. We are on the main dashboard, main landing page of the DroneSense web console. This should look familiar to all of you. If I expand the side menu, we are going for the fifth item from the bottom, which is the maintenance portal. When we click in, brings us to the maintenance overview page. Now, from this overview, this is giving us a calendar view for the current month, showing any time maintenance was run. If there were any upcoming, you would see them in green. Any overdue, as you can see here, those would be in red. I would have to go back several months to look at these 5 overdue. But as we scroll further down here, we can see all of our overdue maintenance requirements, any upcoming maintenance requirements, as well as all of the completed records for all the maintenance that's ever been run on our account. Coming back up to the calendar page, we have a few more options here. By default, this is going to show maintenance for all types of hardware. Again, that's batteries, drones, payloads, and devices. But you can very easily filter between the various options here. And then the blue button over here will give us a couple options as well. We can do that ad hoc maintenance like we discussed. We can create a new maintenance schedule from this option, and we can also create a new maintenance procedure from this option as well. So kind of a little bit of redundancy into where you can get into this information. So first, I'm going to start in procedures. It's our third icon on the top. And you can see here on the DroneSense demo account, we have a couple of procedures that we've already created. We have a monthly inspection, a prop replacement, a Matrice 200 series airframe maintenance, and Matrice 200 series propulsion system maintenance. These Matrice 200 series, these both come recommended from DJI. And again, I will share that with you before we wrap today. These two were both created in-house. But what we're going to do now, we will just simply walk through the process of creating a new maintenance procedure. So big blue button, very similar layout to so many other sections of the platform here, whether that's adding a new flight or adding new hardware, simply add new procedure. It's going to take us to this page. So this is where we're going to input our details. We can call this basic weekly maintenance. We want all of our teams to have access. And this is going to be a drone specific maintenance procedure. And I'd say this will take us no more than 15 minutes. Now again, just like under the safety tab when creating a checklist, same options are here. We're going to give the step a name. So we can do check airframe for racks. And then over here, we could go into a much deeper description on what exactly we want our users to be looking for, or our pilots to be looking for, or maybe we have a fleet manager, whatever the case may be. This is where we're going to provide a little bit more info. And then if we check this box, this will make this item mandatory. And you'll see where that comes into play here in just a little bit. I'll go add item, and you can see I can add as many items to this maintenance procedure as I want. Again, you can be as in the weeds or as simple with this as you want to. Just to give you a quick idea of how deep in the weeds some people choose to get with this, I'm going to turn my camera on real quick. This is the checklist for a Phantom 4 Pro. This was provided by Travelers Insurance. This is actually not necessarily just their maintenance checklist. This is also their pre-flight checklist as well. So again, you can see just how detailed this is. And for those of you that don't know, Travelers Insurance actually has the largest commercial drone fleet in the United States. But again, you can get as deep in the weeds or as simple with this stuff as you want to. I just wanted to quickly show you that just to give you an idea of how deep in the weeds an insurance company went with their maintenance checklist. But again, bouncing back into our details page, we can do, check battery, fitment, whatever the case may be. And then we'll just do test. We'll make them all mandatory except for this last one. And then if we have some additional notes that we want to apply or add to this details page, we can add them down here at the bottom. I'll go to save maintenance. Oh, I have to give it a description. So we'll just say checklist created for weekly. All right. So now we've created this basic weekly maintenance list here. You can see the history now. Again, this layout very similar to how the hardware looks, to how our flight logs look, to how our member logs look. Down here, we would have history. Again, the option to edit any of that information is here. And then over here on the right-hand side, all the teams that have access, and then the ability, again, to append those documents and videos to specific append documents and videos to this specific maintenance procedure. Down here at the bottom, you can see the option to perform that maintenance. And if I back out, you can see we have all of our maintenance procedures listed in here. So what I want to do next from here is now I want to create a maintenance schedule specific to this basic weekly maintenance. So now I'm going to go over to schedules. And you can see I have a couple of schedules here. There's a Mavic maintenance schedule here, as well as a 25-hour check here. I believe I just heard my chat notification. I'm going to bounce back over here real quick and check the chat logs. Do any other agencies outside of DroneSense have similar checklists? So I believe DPS has some pretty in-depth checklists. Another place I would encourage you guys to check out is the Drone Responders website under the some of their files page. I'm sure there are some agency checklists listed there. Again, Sean, the reason that we don't provide any examples is specifically just due to liability. But yeah, I would encourage you check with there's the UAS working group on Facebook, and then Drone Responders. I did find a couple of other websites that had a couple of options. Some were very good, some were kind of poor. Again, at the end of this, I will share the Matrice maintenance guide with you all. But jumping back into maintenance schedules, what I'm going to do here, add new schedule. And again, this is going to come to that details page. So this is going to, I'll just call this basic weekly maintenance. Again, all of our teams will have access. The one thing right now that I don't like about maintenance schedules is they have to be assigned to a specific individual. I like the option to assign them to a specific individual, but I think that anyone should be able to run maintenance if they're a part of our program. So right now I'm just going to go in and I'll select my name. And this is going to be based on calendars. So we'll do this every 7 days or weekly. And I'm going to have this schedule start on, we'll go and do back one and just do Thursday the 30th. And this is a drone type. So as soon as we select drone type, it's going to ask us what procedures we want to include in this schedule. Right now, you can only select one, but in the next iteration of the maintenance portal, you'll be able to select multiple procedures to apply to this schedule. I'm going to select that basic weekly maintenance. I'm going to click save. And then I'll go save mate. And now the last piece, once we've saved it, it gives us the option to apply it to hardware. So what I am going to do is we can go through and we'll just, we'll apply it to Andy's Mavic. And we'll do this matrice. Again, you could select all. Matter of fact, we'll just select all the aircraft. And we'll hit save. And then we'll save maintenance. And now it's going to go through and generate the maintenance schedule. I think because I selected so much hardware, it's going to take a little bit more time. And now that's created. And here we are with kind of the overview. It's a drone. It's assigned to me, about 15 minutes, created date, cycle every 7 days. The procedures right now, again, is just that basic weekly maintenance. And then you can see the list of hardware that I applied this to. And we can see all the instances on when this is coming up. So now, because I have applied this to so many aircraft, you can see we have a whole 48 different aircraft that are coming up for this weekly maintenance tomorrow. If I bounce back to maintenance schedules, and then from this page go to the overview, you can now see that I have 48 upcoming procedures tomorrow. This is also shown in a couple of other places. Real quick, what I'm going to do is just switch over to the mobile application. So here we are in the heads-up display. I am connected to a paired Anafi thermal right now. But if I click on the cog gear, top right corner, left-hand side of that, the very last one is our little maintenance icon. And you can see right now there's no overdue maintenance for this equipment. If we had anything that was overdue, it would be listed here. And it would also be popping up here under our notifications bell. But since this aircraft doesn't have anything overdue, there's nothing showing. I believe in the future, this will also give you an indication of upcoming maintenance. But right now, it's just going to show more of an alert for overdue or past due maintenance. And that applies across all types of hardware that you're connected to. So because I'm connected to this Anafi USA, it's checking this, this Anafi thermal, it's checking this Anafi and it's checking this battery, as well as the device I'm connected to see if it has any any past due maintenance across any of those hardware types. And that'll apply to all of your equipment. Those maintenance notifications are completely system agnostic. Jumping back into our maintenance overview here, the last piece I want to show is you can export all of this information as a CSV. Overdue maintenance, upcoming maintenance, and the big one for me, completed maintenance, can all be exported out. You can do the same for maintenance schedules, the same for maintenance procedures. And then if we go to this very last tab, our history, this will show us the history of all of the maintenance that's been run. And again, very easy to use that export tool to export that CSV out to help generate whatever kind of internal agency reports you're trying to generate. And guys, with that, I want to open it up to you guys. Questions, comments, concerns. How can we improve this? How can we make it better? Is there anything you want more clarity on or would like to see again? Let's just go ahead now. Again, we're only 22 minutes into this. This isn't something I expected us to take the full hour on, but I want to give you guys a chance to speak. Questions, comments, concerns, improvements. This makes sense. This doesn't make sense. What have you guys got? And you know I'll start calling names. So
Hey, Josh, Chris Lesser, how are you doing, man?
Chris, what's up, brother?
Hey, so we've been using the maintenance schedule stuff
Okay.
for a while, and starting back in November, um, it would start popping up on the calendars, emails, alerts, right? Like, hey, this is overdue. This you need to get done, and we would do it, and it would accept it, and then it would still pop up on the calendar like it wasn't done, and so the list would continue to get it was just getting longer, right? Because even though we do it, we kept getting alerts, got the emails to do it. And then it would also say like 40, we have one for like 45-hour battery or prop swap.
Okay.
So if you went and looked how many hours the drone had flown, it might have only been like, 8 hours. But for some reason, it's thinking that one needs a 45-hour prop swap.
So it sounds like there's some triggering errors happening in the back end, and then those notifications aren't necessarily lining up properly.
Right. So I had to, just due to the annoyance of the constant emails,
Right.
And that we couldn't get to stop. I just, stopped all the process of it, sent a ticket, but I haven't, had a resolution sent back yet.
Okay. I'll follow up with Amanda and the team today.
Cool.
This is something that we've heard a little bit about. A lot of people, the email roll up scheduling is a little tricky to set up and get right. I should probably do a working group on how to set up those admin email roll ups, because they do get very, very annoying very quickly if you have them set kind of not necessarily set up wrong, but just kind of tweaking the wrong boxes.
Right.
But I'll follow up with you on that, because I want to get a little bit more information on you, and I'll pull that ticket as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it was working great for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden, just like at once, like something changed internally.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely talk with the team and get back to you on that.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for hopping on today.
Absolutely.
Guys, another thing I realized that I didn't quite necessarily cover when I was setting up the some of those procedures, or some of those schedules. I know we talked about, how they can be, set up based on the calendar, based on flight hours, based on cycles. It's very easy, if we come in and select flight hours, this can be done every 5 flight hours. Or maybe we don't want it flight hours. Maybe we want it every 5 battery cycles, or every 5 flights. Whatever the case may be, it's just as simple as using kind of the calendar dates. Those are your options. What else do we have question-wise on the maintenance portal? Chief Cruz, you got anything? Matt, you got anything?
Hey, Josh, I guess this is Les. I guess
Hey, Chief, how are you?
To those who have already used the maintenance portal, is some lessons learned and do's and don'ts for somebody who hasn't done it yet?
So I think the biggest one from my perspective is just going through, not necessarily the notifications, but the notifications as a whole, not just specific to the maintenance. And go to the admin panel notifications, because like Chris said, you don't want to be inundated with DroneSense emails every day, because then you start ignoring them, and the one day we send out something important, it just breezes by you. But I think another big piece is just look and see what other agencies are doing, even outside of DroneSense. Have some discussions, find out what other agencies are doing. What do they have on their checklist? Does their checklist for maintenance make sense for our agency? Is it something we can take and expand on? I think those are kind of some of the biggest points. And again, all of this, just like everything else within the platform, if you create something that you don't like, you can very easily come in here and archive it and remove it. So don't feel like once you set this stuff that it's set in stone. It's very editable, very customizable. You can work with it until you feel like you have it right.
Is there some way we could set up an information exchange? And I'll just use Chris as the example. If he held up a sheet of paper in front of the camera like you did that said, hey, here's the 5 or 10 things we're checking on a weekly basis. So this might be the starting point for somebody. So is there some way with those in attendance today that have those documents that they'd be willing to share them with the group?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Yeah, if there's anybody on the call today that would be willing to share what their agency's doing when it comes to maintenance, you can either send that to me and I can disseminate it out to the group, or you can we can go about it another way. But I would be very curious to see how other agencies have applied it. And I see Alex just unmuted himself. Alex,
Yeah, Josh, I'd say we could probably put that in as a on our support side as a article with some user supplied suggestions. We can just throw into an article with some attachments and things like that. So if you want to send those
yeah, I
to
think that'd
me
be
or
great.
Josh,
We
we'll
can
give
also
an article.
Yeah, I like that.
Josh, I'm looking on drone responders now, and I'm not seeing anything that is specific to maintenance. I'm finding pre and post flight checklists, but not
Okay.
maintenance type stuff.
Interesting. I figured they would for sure have some. So maybe this is something that we need to take bigger than just this group. Maybe a larger discussion in some of the Facebook forums would be valuable here. Because I'm looking at drone responders right now as well, and I'm not really seeing any.
I mean, if an insurance company's already come up with a pretty in-depth list, that's a starting point for, at least for my agency, that'd be a starting point.
Yep.
However, I don't have a Phantom 4 or a Matrice 210 or bigger. I have Mavics. So
Yeah, and I can. What I'll do is I need to take and kind of make this this checklist that I have shareable. Just need to remove a couple of logos, and then I'll get this posted in the DroneSense user group today. And then for those of you that aren't in the user group, if you can just either send me a text or an email, I will send this document out to you guys as well. And then I thought that there was a way for me to send or to share a file, but I guess not. So what I'm going to do, what I'll do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a minute, and I'm going to move some things around, and then I will share. We can basically look at what this DJI specific checklist looks like, and then we can kind of talk through it. And then for those of you that want a copy of it, I will be happy to email it to you as well. Give me 1 second to get this opened here. Put on the screen. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen again. Boom. This load here. All right, so what we're looking at right now is the Matrice 200 series V2 maintenance manual. This is version 1 of the maintenance manual. This, to my knowledge, is the only maintenance guide that DJI has ever put out for any of their hardware. I think it's a good starting point. I think there's a lot of gaps to be filled, but again, I understand where they're coming from in not wanting to release, recommended maintenance. I also find it interesting that they call this the Matrice 200 series V2, but as we scroll down, it'll start talking about the Matrice 300. So it's a very broad overview here. Obviously, there's a big disclaimer. Talks about their warranty here, and then it gets into some of the routine inspection and maintenance practices. Again, you could use this as kind of a foundation or a skeleton to start building your own. And this is what I used for the DroneSense team for those 2 Matrice series checklists that you saw. But you can see we're checking the airframe, checking the motors, checking the batteries, antennas, the payloads, the RC, the dampening plate. This gives a really good list of things to check. And again, this is all for when powered off. We get down here, we get into the powered on, And then again, like I said, I think it's funny they start calling it the Matrice 300 RTK maintenance manual as we get further and further on. Again, I will share this out with all of you, or at least with those of you that are interested. I definitely see I've got some emails popping up here in the chat. If this is something you want a copy of, feel free to post your email. I'll get that sent out, and then I will also post this in the DroneSense user group on Facebook. And then, Alex, I'm going to let you take to task in working with Eric Thompson to get a support site article up on maintenance. I'm sure the one we have could definitely use an update. But again, lots of information here in this guide. I would encourage you, take a look at it. Even if you're not flying DJI, even if you're not flying Matrice series aircraft, I am sure that you can use this as a foundation or as a skeleton to build out your agency specific maintenance practices. I'm going to close this out. Better yet, I'm just going to stop sharing. And I want to open it back up for questions, comments, concerns. I like this, but I'd like to see it improved upon this way. What have we got, guys? We're about half past the hour here.
Hey, Josh, in the maintenance portal, and I may have missed this, but is there restrictions as far as whether or not you have to be an admin or not to be able to set up the maintenance, to set it up? And then once it's set up, can anybody select it and say that they said that it's a pass fail or that they've inspected or that? Can you just touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So we'll just go ahead and we'll just take a look at kind of what those permissions look like. So as I've changed the title in our system from member to pilot. But we can look in and we can see if I scroll down here to maintenance. As a member, your defaults, you can view, edit, create, but you cannot change the archive status of anything as a member. So the additional step for an admin is they have the ability to archive. This again is the defaults. You can come in and change these as you please. But I can't believe I skipped over this in talking about maintenance. We talked about setting up a procedure. We talked about a schedule. We talked about an overview. But we didn't look at what exactly that maintenance looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull. We'll do this. Got 48 upcoming. Let's just go in. We'll pick a random procedure. We'll do this basic weekly maintenance. We're going to go perform maintenance. It's going to ask us to select what hardware we want to run the maintenance on. So I'm just going to select Andy's Mavic 2 Pro, save. It takes us to this list. All the teams. You see check airframe for cracks. Pass or fail are your options here. So I'll go pass, pass. The last one I made not mandatory, so it gives you the option to skip. I'll do pass. And then on this one, I'm just going to do fail. Failed test. And so now in our maintenance records, we can see that I just ran this procedure. And if I click on it, we get the same kind of layout. It failed the test. We see all the steps, the procedures, the number of steps skipped, the number of steps failed. You can edit this if you need to. So once you come back in and make a repair or, fix whatever the issue was that caused it to fail, you can rerun this and then select that, hey, this actually passed now. So you failed test first time around. Second. Save. It makes that modification. And if I click into the view hardware section, you can see now we have the last time maintenance was run on this aircraft was today. And then our maintenance logs, who ran them, what aircraft, the date performed, who was performed, and what the procedure was. So by default, all of your members will be able to create, run, and edit maintenance. By default, your admins are the only ones who can archive or remove remove maintenance. I really, really appreciate all of you jumping in and participating today. As always, thank you all for joining today. If you come up with anything between now and next week, feel free to either email myself at joshua@dronesense.com, or you can email Alex Armstrong at alex.armstrong@dronesense.com. And then there's always help@dronesense.com as well. Thank you all for your time today. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you're on duty, please stay safe and have a safe shift. Take care, everybody.